where Apex Legends has had it quite rough the past couple years. Player counts have been steadily declining for years, and everyone is throwing fingers different directions. So I wanted to talk about my experience playing the game, why I've stopped playing so much, and why I don't plan to play hardly at all going forward. I've played this game for 4 years, and I've been every type of player. I've played it casually for a while with friends, played ranked casually, competed at the highest level, and played ranked professionally. So I've had a mix of it just being my hobby and being a full-time job. I've played this game every way possible. I've seen it from every angle, and as a pro player and streamer, I've also heard lots of insider information and schemes or secrets or whatever you want to call them, which I'll get into later. And spoiler, was ultimately the reason I gave up on the game. So I'm not going to start from the beginning. It's a live service game, and the current version is all that matters. I will frequently bring up anecdotes from the past, but only if I feel as though they are relevant to why the game is currently the way it is. Let's start with what has become the absolute #1 reason why I think the game has fallen to such a low, and I'll use an example. Take Skyrim. It is one of the best-selling games of all time, and people still play it to this day, over 10 years later. However, there are also tons of people who don't like Skyrim, and Skyrim doesn't care if you don't like it. If you don't like open world fantasy vibe, that's fine. You can go play something else. It's not trying to appease everyone. Apex Legends, however, constantly flips back and forth between what audience it is trying to capture, and while doing so, it loses both of them. Live service games tend to either go after one audience: competitive-minded people who like to try being the best or just want to scratch a competitive itch, or the casual audience who don't really have any allegiance to the game whatsoever and will just jump around to whatever they think is fun or looks like it will be fun. Fortnite is a great example. They have literally thousands of game modes for people to choose from and are constantly adding in new stuff to keep people interested. The competitive scene in Fortnite, while large and actively supported by the developers, is really just more of an arm or leg to the game, whereas in a game like CSGO, competitive is the head and the torso. How does this relate to Apex Legends? Well, I have 3 examples which I'll be talking about. Let's start with the second worst one in my opinion: engagement optimized matchmaking in public matches. EOMM for short basically throws skill-based matchmaking out the window and attempts to try and choose when you win and when you lose to try and trick you into playing longer. For as long as I can remember, Apex Legends does not care about putting you with your skill group, unlike almost every other live service game. You'll hear constant complaints from casual players saying they are solo queuing and dying to a 3-stack of people clearly way better than them, and it turns them away from the game. Well, that's because of EOMM. I'm a very good player. I should not be in lobbies with noobs, and we can all agree on that. However, if I take, say, a 3 to 4 day break from pubs, not even the game, just the pub playlist, I will 100% be put into a match with people who are nowhere close to my skill level. After about 1 to 2 hours of me absolutely steamrolling people, I will then suddenly have my matchmaking time quadrupled and will even get skipped very often in the queue. These games are filled with nothing but sweats, and the games will stay that way until I take another 3 to 4 day break from pubs. I've seen this play out numerous times over the years, and when someone told me I was wrong, I decided to go play a pub game just to check, and I literally almost broke at the time what was the damage world record. Every person I shot at looked like literal bots. And I can guarantee you, if I played another hour or so, I would have went right back to the sweaty lobbies and I would have been stuck there. With this system, both good and bad players who want a casual experience are frustrated. Noobs are constantly getting farmed, and good players are forced to play in the sweatiest lobbies possible until they quite literally stop playing the game and come back later. Skill-based matchmaking isn't bad for gaming. Engagement-optimized matchmaking is bad for gaming. EA has a patent for it and uses it in what I assume is all of their competitive games. Let's move on to example number 2. This will be infamous for veteran players, but for those who didn't play Apex, oh boy, you're in for a ride. The transition from Season 12 to Season 13 was one of the most poorly handled updates in the history of gaming, in my opinion. Let me lay it out for you. Season 12 turned the very popular ranked playlist from semi-competitive to a participation award and ruined all semblance of competitiveness in this game. If you were an Apex Legends player in Season 12, there was not even a remotely competitive game mode that you can play, which is fine. That's not inherently bad if you're a casual-centric game. Well, it was like this for 90 days and essentially alienated any player who wanted to play competitively. All right, cool. So we're doing a casual-focused game with lots of releases, and that's the strategy. Well, Season 13 ended up being what was unanimously considered the most competitive the game has ever been. The competitive players that were left rejoiced. as they finally had the mode they waited 13 seasons for. Apex pivoted to being an ultra-competitive game, and the casual community became frustrated. What happened to our casual experience? The casual audience was then alienated. This cycle has happened countless times in Apex's history, but Season 12 to 13 was by far the worst. This completely removes the identity of the game. When people load up Minecraft, for example, they know what they're getting. When people sit down at a chessboard even, they know what they're getting. You don't know what's going to happen when you load up Apex Legends month to month. The developers just can't make up their mind, and it pushes away everyone to games where they know they'll get what they're coming there for. Example number 3, current Apex Legends. It's in the worst state it's ever been. We're currently in the part of the cycle where the game is just absolutely not competitive in the slightest. Pro teams are dropping 40 kill games consistently, and everyone is getting their participation awards for ranked. So, competitive players have nothing to play because Apex isn't scratching that itch for them. So, that's a problem. But here's the second problem. Apex isn't releasing any content whatsoever to keep its casual audience intact. We're getting our 4th year of Winter Express game mode with barely any changes to anything else, while other gaming studios are releasing content at breakneck pace. Why would anyone in God's name want to play something like Winter Express while Snoop Dogg is having a concert on Fortnite and Marvel just dropped an incredibly polished Overwatch competitor? Apex Legends is continuing to lose market share among the casual audience while simultaneously alienating its competitive audience. However, that leads into a harsh reality of Apex Legends. Apex wasn't supposed to exist in the first place. This is where we start to get into personal anecdotes, more opinionated arguments, and the drama I mentioned earlier. For those that don't know, Apex Legends was originally supposed to be Titanfall 3, but after the success of the Battle Royale genre, it changed during development to be Apex Legends, and the game was surprise released with essentially zero marketing. It was a complete Hail Mary, putting the brakes on a very moderately successful franchise, Titanfall, to dip their toes in the new genre. What happened next was something EA could never have expected. The game absolutely banged far beyond anyone's expectations, raking in billions and billions of dollars even years after the release, which very likely would not have been the case for Titanfall 3. So that's great. The game did better than expected. That means they'll put more resources into building it even bigger. Well, unfortunately, in my opinion, Apex Legends is a huge victim of corporate America. You see, EA had 2 options after they caught lightning in a bottle with Respawn's Apex. They either take a risk and keep putting more work into it, hoping it'll grow even larger, or they sit on their fat stack of cash and collect an absolute boatload of money while keeping costs as low as possible. And as I'm sure you can probably guess, as time went on, they shifted way more towards the second one. The expected earnings of Titanfall 3 were absolutely blown out of the water with Apex, and I think this reality made its way down the management chain and severely affects the decisions that Respawn makes with Apex Legends. I've talked to countless Respawn employees from various departments over the years, ranging from art to security to map designers to game balancers to community managers, play testers, etc., and I have heard 2 gloomy phrases they've all repeated. We want to do blank, but we're not allowed, or all our suggestions fall on deaf ears, both of which imply one major problem. Upper management is either negligent, lazy, or has motives that do not align with the player's best interest. Almost every Respawn employee I've worked with directly was absolutely dripping with talent and passion for the game, but they're being actively suppressed by the people above them on the totem pole, and it has been incredibly sad to listen to them slowly lose passion for the game, and most of them, quite frankly, sound like they've given up at this point, and it sucks to listen to. There's one final thing that I think really sealed the nail in the coffin for my love for Apex, and that's the active suppression of community-made content. Almost every game that has stood the test of time has had user-generated content. Minecraft is the most popular game of all time because you can literally do whatever you want. You can build anything you can imagine, and anything you can't build, you can easily mod into the game. Fortnite has a whole catalog of user-made maps with millions of players. Apex Legends has, like I said, actively suppressed all community-made content. There is a modded version of the Apex client where you can kind of sort of make stuff if you know what you're doing. Anyone that has any sort of involvement in this is literally shunned by Respawn. If you're an EA creator and you even talk about R5 Apex, you will be kicked out of the program. I tried hosting a $1,000 tournament in this modded version of the game, and I was handed a cease and desist by an EA lawyer in less than a week. Actually, it was probably more like 2 days, but I'm gonna say a week. And of course, they have every right to do this. But the thing is, they're suppressing community-made content while simultaneously not releasing any of their own. It's no coincidence that the most watched and supported aspect of Apex is ALGS, because it is literally the only outlet for players to do something bigger than the game and create storylines and content that aren't shackled to only trios and ranked and are twice a year new temporary game mode that usually sucks. They aren't making good content at the pace that's needed for them to compete with other titles. They won't let the community make their own content, and they won't make the game competitive. Not one person is shocked that the Apex Legends player count keeps reaching new all-time lows. And listen, I'm making this video out of passion. I absolutely love Apex Legends, and I will always have a soft spot for the Apex community and everything you've done for me. You've changed my life, you've changed my family's life, and I've always done my best to change other people's life because of what you've done for me. I donated probably 30 high-end PCs to the community. I paid for people's trips to ALGS events. I've helped lots of community members with individual personal things, and that isn't even 1% of what you guys have done for me and everyone I know. My dad raised me while working 70 hours a week, and I got to pay off his car and his house the past few months. He'd be proud of me no matter what, but seeing the person I model myself after cry from how proud he is of me is something I can't even put into words. And it has nothing to do with me. You know, you guys chose me, you watch me, you support me. I didn't get to choose to be in this position. You guys picked it for me. But thank you. And I never wanted to make a video like this because the game has done so much for me. But I've realized it was never really about the game. It was about the community. And this video is kind of my final attempt to try and get things turned around for Apex so everyone can enjoy the game again. So thanks for watching me play Apex over the years. I'm not sure how much I'll play going forward. And sorry I read the emotional bit straight from the script I have here, but that's just because every time I've tried saying it on my own, I start bawling uncontrollably. Anyways, thanks for watching. And let me know what you think. And